Algeria's political status changed very much throughout the course of its nation's history. Before imperialism, Algeria was part of the Ottoman Empire in the 1500s. Before France invaded in 1830, the Algerians were known as barbarians who were involved in piracy and robbing the European ships and disrupting trade along the trade routes over the sea. Algiers, which is the capital of Algeria, was put under the protection of the Ottoman Empire by the ruler Kahir-i-Adin Barbarossa. Algeria was put under the Ottoman Empire in 1516.
The Ottoman Empire ruled the limited technological advances of the empire before they were colonized. Most of the jobs were agricultural therefore technology had no need to be improved. War weakened the economic profits, which made it difficult for technological conditions to improve. Main sources of income and most technological flow had to do with agriculture.
In 1815, the Napoleonic Wars ended, leaving Algeria in a tricky situation. After the Napoleonic Wars, Algeria found itself at war against the Netherlands, Spain, Prussia, Naples, Denmark, and Russia. Before colonization, Algeria was an Ottoman empire whose main source of income was from pirating. Because of this, the Ottomans never really focused on creating a stable government, which resulted in multiple problems for Algeria.
Algeria served as a capital for Ottoman pirates that focused on wars in Europe, not improving the economy. Before colonization, Algeria was ruled by Muslim dynasties. Spain captured some of Algeria in 1492. In 1518, the Ottoman Turks invaded. They were pirates and successful with trade in the Mediterranean.
In result of the takeover from France, Algeria became a French-controlled territory and a department of the French Republic. The French made the present-day borders of Algeria in 1902. Fighting between French forces and local resistance groups lasted for several years, but Algeria eventually became a French-controlled territory. A smoldering independence movement erupted into open warfare in 1954. Following years of bitter fighting and more than 1 million deaths on either side, Algeria was granted their well-deserved independence in 1962.
The French diminished the Algerian population almost by 1/3. As a result, new ideas were scarce. With the French came more modern forms of agriculture and farming, while no new ideas were being invented, because Algeria now was a French colony starting in the 19th century. Many Europeans made their travels here. With them, they brought new inventions, more ideas, and more modern technology.
For France, the original plan of colonization was a plan for Charles X to increase his popularity amongst the French people. After the French take over, the social life for many Algerians changed. Many Algerians lost their land, became subjects to the French. Political leaders lost power, and the educational was mainly dismantled. Between 1830 and 1847, about 50,000 French people immigrated to Algeria and started to take over the population. For France, many of the immigrants were farmers or peasants, and other criminals immigrated in large numbers. For the French, they encouraged immigrants to immigrate in large numbers to encourage settling in cities. In 1962, over 1 million people fled for France.
During colonization, the French invaded in 1830, taking away Muslim land. This left the people of Algeria with no money. The Algerian economy suffered from severe economic polarity. The French were very rich, and the Algerians were very poor. This inspired a nationalist movement. They wanted to become their own nation. They had various movements to free themselves, like the War of Independence from 1954 to 1962.
As I just said, Algeria won their independence in 1962, but the road to get there was a very harsh and brutal one. In 1954, a war broke loose against the French, and millions of them died, which in this case was a very worthy risk, because now they are free to do whatever they want in their country under the socialist rule. Algeria's now socialist country is now a result of the French leaving because of how harshly they were beaten.
Independence, Algeria has made major technological advances, especially in steel and petrochemical industries. Algeria has a shortage of skilled workers and is heavily dependent on foreign technologies.
The decision to become independent was based on a large vote that was primarily for independence from France. After independence from France, Algeria started to create its own government, which in creation grew as very socialist. Modern-day Algeria finds itself in the middle of many conflicts, being located in northern Africa.
The War of Independence, Algeria became dependent on oil. The economy suffered after oil prices dropped in the 1950s. President Charles de Gaulle of France declared Algeria independence in 1962. Ahmed Ben Bella was Algeria's first president. They had economic hardships because the Europeans left and took their money with them. The government started to take ownership of things that were left behind, and they started to have some financial recovery. When the natural gas and oil prices dropped, the economy was bad. When they were high, they had a good economy. They were not in a good economic state after colonization. Today, oil and gases are still the main income. Government places high prices on oil and gas to improve infrastructure and industrialize.